All right, let's dive right in. Today, we've got a quick but incredible story for you. Think of it as a cautionary tale about just how high the stakes can be in our day-to-day professional lives. It's all about how one tiny slip of the finger can unleash an absolute tidal wave of trouble. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Is your keyboard a loaded weapon? I know it sounds a little dramatic, but trust me, after you hear this story, you might think twice before you fire off another email.
So picture this. It's just a totally normal day at the office. You know the drill. A pretty standard, routine email needs to get sent up the chain of command to a senior manager. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. Or so it seemed.
And here is where it all went so wrong. It's just a one-letter difference, but man, it changed everything. The intended message was, a totally standard, respectful greeting, "Dear Sir." Simple enough. But what actually got sent was "Dead Sir." Yep, you heard me right. One little typo and a polite hello suddenly becomes this super morbid pronouncement. Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking, yikes, that is bad, super embarrassing. But, you can fix it with an apology email, right? But here's the thing. What could possibly make this situation even worse? Well, let's just say the universe has a pretty wicked sense of humor.
Because of course, it just so happened to be the senior manager's birthday on the exact same day he gets an email addressing him as "Dead Sir." I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The timing could not have been more perfectly disastrous. It took a simple typo and just launched it into the Hall of Fame of workplace blunders.
So, as you can probably guess, this did not just blow over with a quiet chuckle. Not at all. Let's get into the fallout because this one little error triggered an immediate and pretty painful chain reaction. This is what our source calls the double damage effect, and it's perfect. See, the senior manager, who's not having a very happy birthday at this point, doesn't even bother replying to the email. Nope, he picks up the phone and chews out our sender's boss. And what does that boss do? Well, he immediately turns around and passes all of that angry energy right down the line. It's that classic and awful cascade of blame. And this was the highlight, or maybe the lowlights of that phone call. The boss, just totally frustrated, drops this absolute gem of a line. "You fool. Reading before sending is common sense, but looks like common sense is not common for you." Ouch! Harsh, right? But you have to admit, it's pretty memorable.
But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. The scolding, as rough as it was, wasn't the end of it. Oh no, there was let's call it a bonus punishment, just to really hammer the lesson home in a very, very unusual way. That's right. The final punishment was being told to bring in an old English mark sheet for verification. I mean, can you even imagine the humiliation? Having to literally prove you have a basic grasp of the English language, all because of one pesky typo? It's somehow both completely brutal and kinda hilarious.
Okay, so now that we've all had a laugh and maybe a cringe at this poor person's expense, what's the actual lesson here? Let's break down what this little email disaster can really teach us. It really all boils down to what I'm calling the proofread principle. First, it's proof that one single character can absolutely change the entire meaning of what you're saying, turning dear into dead. Second, context is everything. That birthday turned a silly mistake into a personal insult. Third, and this is the big one, never ever underestimate the power of taking just 3 more seconds to do one last check. And finally, just like the boss so poetically pointed out, just because something is common sense doesn't mean we're always practicing it. And that really leaves us with one final thing to think about. After seeing this whole chain of events play out, the angry phone calls, the double damage, the sheer indignity of the mark sheet, it really makes you wonder, what's the real cost of a single typo? It might just be a lot more than you think. Thanks for joining me for this one.